Before this breakdown starts, my Mac cannot record audio, and so I'm going to be playing all the sounds edited into the video, and I hope it still makes it a good breakdown. Thank you. To start things out, we had this sample, and when I heard this, it's very much the same thing throughout the beat. So what I wanted to do is reverse it. I knew a lot of people were going to be sampling pretty much the same thing, and so reversing it gives my sample a little bit more uniqueness. And another thing it does is every single time there's a clap and it's reversed, it'll actually work as a sweep up into the clap. I then added a low pass and a high pass filter on it and gave it some reverb in order for it to sound smoother. Then I decided to take it and double it and put one an octave lower. This just makes it clear. I gave the thing 25 milliseconds of delay just so everything hits before the sample hits. And at the end of this piece, I added a kick sidechain to it. In terms of drums, yes, it's Monty Booker. Haha, did you get the Monty Booker kit last week? Yes, I did. The beat battle I submitted before this one, it's actually the first time I ever used the kit from Monty Booker. I just bought it. So, if you want to win a beat battle, just buy Monty Booker kit. The clap, it's from Z4L. It's a clap. The hi-hat, also from Z4L. They're clicky and they leave room without being too obnoxious, which is really, really nice. To layer this hi-hat, I added a shaker, and then I added the shaker fill. With all that, now I have this perk loop here that just adds left and right stereo. I reversed it so people wouldn't flame me in chat for just using a whole bunch of unoriginal Monty Booker sounds. And then in order to make it in time after reversing it, I only used the delay just so I wouldn't naturally want to go to grid and I do it by ear instead. And the last thing to the drums is the kick, but I'm actually not going to introduce the kick yet. I'm going to use it at the end because the kick is just there to support my bass. Now we're going to make our beat battle submission a little bit more interesting, and we're actually going to talk a lot about music theory. So I hope you're into music theory. Here you go. Up until this point, you could probably fill this beat in with a lot of different vibes. You can make it a hip hop beat, you can make it a trap beat, you can make it an R&B beat. I decided to stick to my roots and do a little bit of the trip hop, cloud rap, jazz rap vibes that I do. To figure out how I want to harmonize this piece, we first have to look at the sample. The sample is playing a 4 chord and then a 3 chord in B flat major. The other thing though is that the sample is reversed, so it's actually losing a lot of harmonic support that it gets. And when the sample is weak harmonically, we want to do everything we can to support it. So I started off by grabbing my guitar. The reason I added a guitar is because live instruments really help you in beat battles. People like to cream over them for some reason. The first chord I play is a E flat major 7, but it's being chromatically slid up. So it's playing a D major 7 first, and then it's sliding up to E flat major 7. Now, I play 2 black notes in here, and usually black notes are scary. But a reminder is you can literally use any note you want over any chord. It all just matters what context you use it in. Because of the 2 off-key notes that I play are resolved instantly, it doesn't sound bad. In fact, the reason I use these black notes is because it gives it a lazy feel, like I played the wrong chord and then I just shifted it up mid-performance, you know? It just feels like you're very, very loose. One way you can think of this is like circus music, how it goes and it's very chromatic. That's because it wants to feel loose and just fun.
Chords and add a little bit more embellishments on them, a couple little nines, a couple little pinky.
The next one is the tricky one. It's actually D minor sharp 9, but I'm not playing the D, and instead I'm replacing the D with a C to play the 7th and make it a little bit more colorful. And you may ask yourself, why am I using a sharp 9 as opposed to what the natural 9 is in my key? Well, if I played this chord with the natural 9, it would sound like this. It sounds pretty uncomfortable. The reason this harmony sounds so harsh is because of the harmony between the A and the E flat. This harmony is widely known as a tritone, and tritone's entire purpose is to create tension, and it wants to resolve to something that sounds like this. Now, because the beat that I'm making is supposed to imitate drugs and dopiness, I didn't want to create any tension because nobody likes to be anxious when they're tripping balls. So I tried to get rid of that tritone. If you don't already know what the circle of fifths is, don't worry, it's like the most important thing to music, but it's all right. You don't have to learn it. It's pretty much just a tool, and we can use this tool multiple ways. One way is to figure out key centers. The key center that I'm using for this is B flat major, and it's right next to F major and A flat major. F major is the same exact thing as B flat major, just one note difference. The E flat becomes an E. And for A flat, It's just that the A becomes an A flat. So if I changed keys from B flat to A flat, it wouldn't sound as jarring as B flat to C flat because there's not as many notes that are being changed from key to key. So if we're trying to make something that sounds at home, we typically want to stay as close to B flat as we can. And one of the more mathematically beautiful things about keys is that if I wanted to change keys from something like B flat to F, I change the note that's in the tritone. I'm raising my E flat from an E flat to an E. And if I went the other way, I'd be lowering my A to an A flat. So in order for me to get rid of this tritone, I have to change keys. And that's why I sharpen the ninth, to get rid of that tritone harmony. And one thing you could be asking is, why am I moving clockwise on the signal of fifths as opposed to counterclockwise? And the reason I chose to go clockwise as opposed to counterclockwise on the signal of fifths is if I went counterclockwise, the chord would sound like this. And that still has a tritone because we're borrowing that A flat, and we still have our D. So D and A flat, also a tritone, still creates tension. We still don't want that. There's plenty of ways I could have gone about harmonizing this. It's just, I wanted to show you guys my process and how I think about chords and why I wrote the chords the way I did. Because I know a lot of hip hop producers struggle with chords. So here's my synth that I added. To add a little bit more color to the beat, I added a Monty Booker synth sine wave to it, and added a little bit of RC20 to give it a wobble and increase the attack so it's more like a swell. And with this, I played an E flat major 7 at the very start just to introduce a little bit of the keys. And the way I looped the sine wave was I added a G, a D, a C, and a B flat, and that would be the 3rd, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th of the chord. And the next chord would be an F, a C, another F, and an A, which would just be the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th of the chord. And in both these chords, I don't include the root note. And that's just a good thing that I intentionally do because it makes the chord a little bit more ambiguous, and the root note is really just supposed to be carried by the... So the 808 I used is actually Somatics 808. It's very short, thumpy. My friend sent it to me one time, and now it's my favorite 808 to use. It's fairly simple how I use it. I only play it on the root note, and the only time it ever leaves the root note is when I'm trying to create tension leading into a new drop or a new chord. There's even a point where, even though the tritone is out of key, I still play it because it creates tension and I resolve it fast enough. Alongside my 808, I used a bass. This bass is very nice because it tricks your listener into thinking there's going to be a live bass for your track, and then you hit them harder with the 808. I kept on playing the root note with my actual bass, and then it got to a point where I did this motif that was an upwards arpeggiation of my chord. On the chord switch, I played the root note again, and then the upwards arpeggiation repeats itself, and it's catchy. The way I stop the motif is a hammer-on the bass once, and then again, a whole step down, and then I play the root note again. So we get a whole motif with the upwards arpeggiation of the chord and one of the hammering on with the bass. And the hammer on the bass is also similar to the 808 glide up.
Nines, couple little pinky.
To top it all off, of course, I'm not going to forget my kick. The kick is there to support my bass mainly. I use the one from Clink, Monty Booker. Simple rhythm. I don't play kick on the 7th downbeat, or the 7th measure on the downbeat, just to give it that lazy feel. And then I also add a ghost note right before every chord change. It's like an 8th note where I just drop the kick all the way down on the velocity, and it gives it a little bit more anticipation before the chord changes. The last thing we need to do to this beat is arrange it. I did the old reliable reverb on master trick and turned it down as soon as the bass was about to drop. And for the bass drop itself, I didn't notice this, but I actually used the same exact bass drop along with the same exact kick and hi-hat from Z4L, as the clap followed by 4 hi-hats for anticipation before the drop hits. A lot of what makes this beat sound good is how colorful it is and the extensions on the chords, and I really wanted to introduce everybody with that so they would stick around and hear the rest of the beat. When the beat drops, that's when the auto pan turns on the sample, and then it creates that room. And then the 8 bars just play out entirely with everything in them, no changes whatsoever. On the third 8-bar loop, I cut out the normal pitched sample and only kept the one that was an octave down. EQ'd it a little bit differently, so it took up as much space as it did when both of the sounds were combined. And then I cut out all the drums besides the claps, the shaker, and some kicks I left in. Right before the beat drops, I play that upward arpeggiation on the bass again, and that last note is just pitched an octave higher just for effect. When the beat drops, it plays another unautomated 4 bars, preceded by another 8-bar beat that's completely normal, besides one part where I cut out all the drums just to make the 808 shine a little bit. There's nothing much else to this beat. This beat is very simple, yet sounds very good because we incorporated all these tiny little things into this beat. And that's what's so cool, it's don't overthink shit. I'm only playing my guitar chord on the downbeat. My 808 a lot of the time is only playing the root note. It's a really simple beat, it just sounds really cool. It makes you want to do a lot. It's a really good, trippy beat. Real quick, before we go, thank you to whoever Lucrio gang is for having my back.
What is this Lucrio gang in the chat? Are y'all good?
I don't go on Instagram, Twitter, I don't have any music up, so watching Twitch blow up like that was kind of crazy. As always, thank you Kenny for hosting the battle, giving me an opportunity to shine, giving me some great feedback, and also giving me some great producer tags.
Who the fuck is Lucrio? Oh, Lucrio gang!
If you liked my beat, the best way you can support me, as of right now, is to subscribe to my channel. I do not have anything out there. Just subscribe. Things will be put out in the future, and I cannot wait for it. I used to do a whole bunch of trick shotting on Call of Duty, and I had a YouTube channel for that. So now that I have this opportunity, I'm gonna really go out and try to make high quality content for you guys. But if Kenny Beats is watching this on stream for any chance, and he's telling you to go subscribe to my channel, and you don't like this video, don't subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe to my channel from Kenny Beats Twitch, and you actually have zero interest in watching my videos, and all this made no sense to you, please don't subscribe. It actually works against me in the system. If you like the music, but you don't like the content I'm making on YouTube, the next best thing you could do is follow my Instagram at Lucrio_. There, I'll rarely post. I haven't posted in a year, but I'll be posting when I drop music. So follow me on Instagram if you're only interested in the music I make. Again, thank you, Lucrio gang. Thank you, Kenny Beats. This has been a blast to make, and I hope I get to see you guys again. Thank you.